need to be able to structure your answer very well. Now, for example, you might be asked, how do you deal with pressure in school? For example, when you have to do so many extracurricular activities, and at the same time you have to balance it with your studies. So in dealing with this, it's just for you to look back and look at how you've been able to combine some certain things with your studies. It might be engaging in extracurricular activities like being part of a club, an association, being part of or engaging in a competition, and balancing it up with your studies. So personally, I remember during my time, what I did was to mention how I was able to combine preparing for an exam and preparing for a competition together. So during that time, I was actually meant to have a test on a Monday, and I had a competition. In fact, we were at the finals on Saturday, which was like a day or two to the test. So I spoke about how I went about it by probably prioritizing things, honestly. I feel like when it comes to answering questions on issue of how do you handle pressure, or how do you balance your studies with extracurricular, you need to emphasize on priority. In some situations, some things are your priority. So you have to figure out which one matters most. And of course, I think it is non-negotiable. Your studies is always the topmost priority. But there are times that you can find a way to combine both and you can get it right. So there's really no straightforward approach to this. It's just for you to be very, very honest, right? Be very honest and go about your answer in a very structured manner. But at the end of the day, be able to show and prove that you're able to deal with pressure, you're able to handle pressure very well, and you're able to achieve your desired goals at the end of the day. So I think another question that you might be asked is, how do you handle challenges? An issue of challenges could be of any form, could be of any sort. So it's for you to figure it out. Oh, this was the challenge I had, and this was how I was able to deal with it. This was what I was able to do to get over it. For example, now, someone's challenge could be that, oh, one of my challenge is I find it hard to read in the night. Do you get? And during the day, I'm probably very occupied, I have many things to do, so it's always a problem for me. Then you can talk about how you came up with a solution. What middle ground were you able to come up with? What solution were you able to come up with to deal with that? During my own time, the challenge I mentioned was a financial related one. And I spoke about how I went about it and how I was able to solve it at the end of the day. So these are questions that you should look out for during your during your interview. And another question could be like, what would you do if you're not given the NHEF Scholarship, Or they could ask questions based on scenario. If you are in this situation, what would you do? If you were Mr. B, what would you do? If you were Mr. A, what would you do? So my advice for you in this situation is that do not rush into giving an answer. Take your time to think. I'm not saying that you have to spend like 10 minutes, 2 minutes thinking, but breathe in and breathe out and just come up with the ideal answer. So if possible, come up with some of these questions and write down your answer. Prepare for it. That's what I did. I actually prepared for my interview. I came up with the likely question by reading one or two things, listening to people, those that have done it before, and I came up with the answer that I think were ideal for the questions. And some of the questions I prepared for came out, and I did it very well. So I think you also need to practice before the interview. You need to come up with questions and come up with your answers. Now, after you've been able to deal with that, the next thing you'll be asked is your future goals. That is, what do you want to achieve in the long run? And in doing this, I would advise that you mention your future goals in a way that it would align with the NHEF aims and objectives. You see, the main aim of the NHEF Scholarship is to produce excellent students is to produce students who would make impact in the next future, students who would make impact on their country, impact on their society. And in doing this, you have to structure your future goal in that line. For example, you could be like, I intend to be a legal researcher. Someone wants to go into legal research, and I'm going to come up with many writings that is going to develop, the Nigerian legal jurisprudence. If you're in other areas, you have to come up with your goals, your future goals and objectives, which would align with the objectives of NHEF. And that means that you have to go and make research about NHEF itself, what it is all about. What does it stand for? Who are the people behind it? Do you get the point? Who are the people behind it? And what are the goals and objectives of NHEF? By the time you understand this, you would know how to structure your answer in a way that it would align with the aims and objectives of NHEF. And I think if you've done this, you're going to ace your interview.